One early morning, 15 years ago, my wife Ieva and I woke up in Joshua Tree National Park. This is one of the world's best destinations for rock climbing. And I opened my eyes. I couldn't stop giggling to myself. See, 2 weeks before that, we'd made a couple bold moves. We'd quit our jobs, we canceled the lease on our apartment, and we sold all of our belongings. That morning, it had finally started to sink in what we'd done. I couldn't believe how good we had it. Because over the next several years, I'd get to run 100-mile trail races. We'd get to travel all around the US. This is Ieva on top of the Grand Teton. We got to climb towers in South Africa, beautiful peaks in Peru. We did some high-altitude mountaineering, and we spent a considerable amount of time in Yosemite National Park climbing the big granite walls there, like Half Dome and El Capitan. These experiences profoundly changed our lives. They made us who we are today. We couldn't have done it if we'd had full-time jobs. Eventually, we decided it would be nice to have a stable place to live. So we moved here to State College, Pennsylvania, and I started a company called West Arete. The name's a climbing term. Today, we're a successful software development company with about a dozen employees, and we develop workflow applications for clients all around the country. We're a lifetime member of 1% for the Planet. We're a silver bike-friendly business, and this year, we're on track to become a benefit corporation and a certified B Corp. So 5 years ago, a couple of West Arete employees and I had an outrageous idea. What if we could each get an entire month off of work every year to pursue our dreams? We weren't sure exactly how likely this was going to be, but we chipped away at it over the years. And we pulled it off eventually. West Arete has been doing mandatory 1-month sabbatical for every employee now for years. And you know what? It's freaking amazing. So I'm here to share the story of that crazy adventure with you and teach you how you can do it too. It turns out to be an insanely good idea for both the individual and the corporation. So why are sabbaticals a good idea? Let's start with what motivates us at work. There's really 2 types of motivation in the world. We have extrinsic motivation and intrinsic motivation. Extrinsic motivation are things that usually involve reward or punishment. Reward could take the form of a $1,000 sales bonus. Punishment could take the form of getting yelled at by your boss. This works okay. We'll typically work just hard enough to get the reward or just hard enough to avoid the punishment. The other type of motivation, intrinsic motivation. This is what comes from within. We do these things because we enjoy them or because they give us a sense of purpose. So things like I run because I find it to be meditative and relaxing. Or I create custom software because I enjoy building useful things. Naturally, it turns out that intrinsically driven organizations perform drastically better than those organizations that use the carrot and the stick. So Gallup devised a survey for measuring this within your company. Interestingly, 1/3 of the questions in this survey are really touchy-feely. Things like, my supervisor cares about me as a person, and I have a best friend at work. This is how we measure our performance. This is how all companies measure their engagement, because these deep personal reactions are a key part of your company's performance. It makes sense. In the backs of our minds, we're all doing kind of the subconscious mental calculation of whether this group of individuals is really worth us investing all of our skills and talents and effort. So, how do you think we're doing as a country? Terrible! 71% of US employees are not engaged. They don't give a damn. And why would they? If the company doesn't care about you as a person, why would you invest those deep talents and skills back in the company? And again, it's cares about me as a person, not cares about me as an employee. How are sabbaticals going to help with these couple questions? Let me play out a scenario with you. You like to sail. In fact, one of your lifelong dreams is that you would love to get your bareboat cruising certification, because this is going to let you rent a big sailboat and by yourself and go on a multi-day cruise with all of your friends. So you've been dreaming about this, but it's a big investment. So your manager has been working with you to try and make this happen. They're taking responsibilities off your plate. They're trying to get you the whole month of March off. They're rescheduling things. They're making sure the right processes are in place so things aren't a mess when you come back. And finally, the time's getting close. Your supervisor throws a party for you on top of all of this with all your employees to send you off so you can go pursue your dreams. And you get there, and they baked a cake for you with a boat on top. Now, does that supervisor care about you as a person? Yeah, they sure do. And it's not a fake feeling. When you help an individual achieve some of their dreams and you see what it does for them, you can't help but care about them as a person. And when a team of people helps each other achieve their dreams, you can't help but find a best friend at work. Nailing these personal relationships is a key part of your organization's performance. And when you work in these organizations, you're going to want to sink all of your talent into it. But we're not going to achieve these things with more bonuses and more vacation days or more snack bars. We're not even going to be able to do it while we're still at the office. Now, the only way we're going to get this kind of engagement is by helping people pursue their dreams outside of work. This is how we're going to scale friendship and caring in our organizations. This is how we're going to get people to give a damn at work. This is a critical part of your company's operational and financial performance. So how do we do it? West Arete retrofitted it, and we did it a little bit at a time, and so can you. Because the good news is, every step that you take to implementing sabbaticals at your company winds up being good for the organization anyway, because it's all about processes, bottlenecks, and resiliency. So let's take, for example, Chris has the sales pipeline on a spreadsheet on his computer. Nobody else can get to it. So what are we going to do to get him on sabbatical? Let's get that on the network so that everybody can see it. And it turns out the developers love to have access to this. Now, Chris also has some accountability to keep it up to date. That's great. What about reconciling the bank accounts? Only Sally knows how to do that. Well, it looks like we're going to have to make some processes, get the proper permissions in place, and train somebody else to take over in that situation. Now we're more resilient. All right, what about leadership? This question comes up a lot. Every time I come back from sabbatical, there's certainly a lot of things that my team is really happy to have me back for, and that feels good. But there's also a section of things while I was gone that they discover that they can handle just fine without me. In fact, they can often do it better. This empowers them to take these things over, and it frees me up to focus on the areas of my strengths. When you run these experiments over and over and over again every month in your organization, you can't help but have your processes get really good in a hurry. They have to. And this is why 1 month is such a good time frame. It's enough time to make sure that the processes that you put in place have some amount of sustainability to them. You're not going to be able to get away with duct tape and Band-Aids. On the personal side, 1 month is great because after 2 weeks, it's enough time for you to start to forget about work. After 2 weeks, your brain finally begins to realize that it doesn't have these work responsibilities anymore. Remember the giggling? And so the second 2 weeks are spent pondering the question, what do you really want to do today? And as you do that, you can become to be or discover who you truly are. And that can be life-changing. So we have our cycle at West Arete. Every month, somebody goes on sabbatical. We take their keys. We close down all their accounts. We even change the password on their email. They couldn't do any work even if they wanted to. And we throw a small party for them, and we send them on their way. And then we don't hear from them for an entire month. In fact, we'd consider it to be a failure if we ever had to get in touch with somebody while they're on their sabbatical, and we haven't had to do it yet. The next day, somebody else is coming back from their sabbatical. We're welcoming them back in, easing them into the flow, and hearing about their adventures. The neat thing is this cycle has become completely routine for us, and we love it. So what if you think this still isn't an urgent problem? I have one more possible motivation for you, and it may be hard to hear, because in some regards it's a grim premonition of our futures. Bronnie Ware is a palliative nurse. This means that she takes care of people in the final weeks of their lives. From this important, compassionate work, she wrote a book called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. Do you know what people's number one regret was on their deathbeds? I wished I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life that others expected of me. They saw that their dreams had gone unfulfilled. Do you know what the number 2 regret was? I wished I hadn't worked so hard. This regret was universal among every single male patient that she nursed over her career, and most of the women. These were the breadwinners from the previous generation. This is an important part of our American work culture, and we all have a responsibility for this outcome. But it doesn't have to be this way. We can change how we're going to look back on our working lives. Don't get me wrong, I love good, hard work. You don't get to run ultramarathons or climb big walls without that. But life without struggle is a shallow life indeed. And when you get to struggle with the people you love, the indulgences are oh so much sweeter. So just look at these sabbaticals. Ryan hand makes wooden surfboards. These things are works of art and engineering. They're beautiful. And he can ride them like crazy. Eric built this beautiful house in the forest from stones that he found himself. Brittany kicked her jewelry making business into high gear and got her work showcased at the local museum. Nick trained like a professional mountain bike rider for an entire month just to see what it would be like. And Ieva and I, we got to take the kids climbing. So these experiences, they're part of all of our lives. We're never going to forget them. I do worry about Bronnie Ware's findings. I don't want anybody at West Arete to regret their time there. But I do take comfort in knowing that the average employee at West Arete has 32 sabbaticals left until retirement age. So let's do it. Let's change the way that we value our time off. Let's get mandatory sabbaticals in place for every single company and organization. Let's make sure that our lifetime of struggle with our coworkers is something that we can celebrate together. Thank you.